Open Heaven Daily Devotional by Pastor Adebayo. Today, Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Topic: Stand up for Christ everywhere. Memory verse: Psalm 137 verse 6. Psalm 137 verse 6. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Bible reading: Daniel chapter 1 verses 8 to 20. Daniel 1, 8 to 20. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who had appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Mizar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servant. So he consented to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Mizar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pause. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. Message. In our Bible reading for today, we see how Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah rejected the king's food so as not to defile themselves. Though they were slaves in a strange land, these boys were determined to maintain their consecration to God. Unfortunately, there are many Christians who begin to behave like the people of the world the moment they get to a land where nobody knows them. We see several examples of such in the Bible. Let us consider Lot. He was Abraham's nephew and must have been trained according to the instructions of God. But when the angels got to Sodom and Gomorrah, who did they find at the gate of the city? He had blended so much with them that he was among those who sat at the gates of the city, according to Genesis chapter 19 verse 1. Genesis 19:1. He ended up losing all that he had amassed, including his wife. Whenever you find yourself, you must live by the standard of the Most High God. Some Christian students resume in the university and dump all the consecration they maintain while at home. They start mixing with ungodly friends and join them to lead sinful lives. Some others travel to a different country or state and begin to misbehave. Be warned, when Daniel got to a strange land, he ensured he kept the company with fellow believers. When you get to a strange land, locate other believers, people who are on fire for God, and befriend them. Join a Bible-believing church where you can continue to serve God as you used to back at home. When you refuse the king's meat and wine in that strange land so as to stay pure, God will defend you at all times. When Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, now renamed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego by their captors, were thrown into fiery furnace, the fire could not burn them because they took a stand for God in Daniel chapter 3. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, The lions